You are now tuned into the Anxious Ambition podcast, where you'll be hearing raw and unfiltered conversations with those who struggle with mental illness but refuse to let that get in the way of them achieving their dreams. Our hope is that by hearing their stories, you are inspired to do more. Here are their stories.
Anxious Ambition.
Welcome back to another episode of the Anxious Ambition podcast. I am your host, Justin Allen, and today we have another special guest. He's a transformational mindset coach. He's the author of the book Fearless. He's a host of the coming. It's coming.
Interrupted you. It's coming.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
He's a host of the Fearless Now podcast and a mental health advocate. But kind of the main thing about his story is, he had this long years of misdiagnosis and he was finally diagnosed with ADHD. And now he's turning this. And if you're watching the video,
I'm selling bumper stickers, ADHD bumper stickers and t-shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, 50% off sale. This time only. You're in sales.
Hell yes. Exactly.
Kidding, guys. I don't want you to have an ADHD t-shirt. I want you to have I'm a badass motherfucker t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
Wallets too, like in Pulp Fiction. Sorry, guys.
Exactly. Well,
No.
Hey, no need for any more introduction. Welcome to the show, Sam Led.
Justin, it's an honor. I've been wanting to, I think, be on the show for like months now. But
yeah, we've been talking.
You're a busy man, and I get it. So thank you for taking a deep dive with me. I know you're really busy, and I'm busy too. So
hey, we're all busy, and
that's a good thing. God bless.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to just share some before we get into it.
Of course. Yeah.
It doesn't matter that I'm half Ukrainian. It's going horrible. It's going on in Ukraine. My grandfather was born in Radomysh, Ukraine, and I know he's knew that he left pogroms when he was a little kid, fled Ukraine to come to America, and he's a very much a American he's passed American success story. Moved to Jersey from Ukraine, had a very successful men's store, raised my mom, and so I have Ukrainian blood in me. And I was watching something on, I think it was CNN, or I don't like CNN that much, but CNN or Reuters, one of them. On YouTube, about these two old men playing chess in Odessa, Ukraine, knowing that the largest army outside of ours is about to destroy their city. And they're so calm, and they've probably been playing chess in that same park since they were kids. And these are elderly men in their 70s or 80s probably. And they were being interviewed in same spot. Gorgeous day, early spring day. I'm sorry, late winter. It's not even spring yet, but we're getting there. The sun was out, and they're so present. And they said to the interviewer, it's like, I'm never gonna miss this game. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but right now I'm sitting across from my best friend that I've known for 60 years, and we're having the best chess game ever.
Wow.
That's the power of presence and the power of knowing what's true, what our spiritual truth is, who we are. That bombs and missiles being fired at us is horrible and it's scary and traumatic. And I've felt like I've had bombs and missiles fired at me in my head for decades with anxiety and depression and with the ADHD diagnosis. But then I didn't. But then I did again. And when I saw that the illusion that I don't have control and that I am not my thinking, I'm Sam, and thought is moving through me like a freight train moving through all of us. But it's uncomfortable sometimes. And but once we make peace with the fact that we are not our thinking and that we're not living in a world of our outside circumstances, we're living in a world of our own thinking. That was powerful for me. Like me watching this on my little phone on YouTube, I'm crying like I'm 40 something years old. I'm crying like a little kid. I'm like, holy shit, man.
Right.
Like you could be in debt, have an anxiety disorder, have a parent that's sick, and your dog just died, and still have the best day ever. How do you explain that? It's because we're living in the world of our thinking. That we have this greatest screenwriter behind the curtain, behind like the Wizard of Oz pulling the strings, your brain, which is just a machine. It's like your laptop computer. It has either an iOS or I don't know, Android system or
Sure,
MS
right.
DOS, Windows
Mhm.
95, whatever. That is doing lots of brain gymnastics, thinking that it's going to keep you safe. It doesn't care if it's going to throw anxiety at you. Its primary focus is survival. And when you see that, like, it hasn't had a software update since the Paleolithic era, like it's still living like it's in we're in the caveman times, doesn't know the difference between your taxes due that with a, that you can't afford to pay and your mom having a cancer diagnosis, God forbid, and then a saber-tooth tiger. Just knowing that, holy shit, man. So
Man.
when I saw that whole chess game play, I was caught up into some crazy thinking, just normal anxiety shit. Like, you're never going to win the game of anxiety and depression. But when you notice, like, it's a game, the brain doesn't know better. And that the brain's just saying to you when you're depressed or when you're anxious, it's like the check engine light. It's all it's saying to you. And unfortunately, it does it in a shitty way. No one likes to have that feeling of depression. And there's nothing wrong with depression and anxiety, by the way. There's nothing wrong with any of you, by the way, those of you that are listening. It's just saying you're too zoomed in. Check engine lights on. It's like an overheating hairdryer, man. When I saw that for myself, knowing that I'm going to be depressed again, I'm going to be anxious again, I'm going to have an ADHD thought train, I'm going to have thought turbulence again, the less I'll take it seriously when it happens, and the less I will suffer in it. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to hear because of the intellect. Your intellect's stupid, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying, and so is mine. The intellect is great for solving quadratic equations. It's great for mechanical stuff. But the spiritual truth within all of us, within you, Justin, within me, is that we are all just one thought away from mental health. We just don't pay attention to that space. When we get quiet, we don't have to do anything about it. It's a gift. And we see it all day long. We just don't pay attention to it. And we're all victims of it if we allow it to be.
Man.
Sorry.
No, you're
I'm talking way too much right now.
You're not. No, it's fine. Because I mean, all those, it just hit home, and I'm sure it hit home for everybody.
Yeah, like we're made to be loved. We're made to be resilient. Look at what's going on in Ukraine.
Right.
That's their Pearl Harbor. Like, what percent of this Ukrainian blood in a lot of us here in this country? Like, we were built to be resilient. Our brain thinks it can produce, the interesting thing is, people say, don't watch the war stuff. I say, no, I'm going to watch it because I see the hope. I see hope and resilience in everyone suffering there. Because of all the stories of death and destruction, there are a million more stories of kids playing the best backgammon game, not backgammon. I don't know what they're playing. Kids are playing these days. The best words. What do you call that?
Wordle or whatever. My wife's
Wordle.
I'm not
right.
even
The best Wordle game in a bunker.
Yeah.
Having the best laugh of their life. Like kids playing soccer in the subway tunnel. Like, we get present all the time. Like, and when we point to who we are, that is right there, waiting for us. Our inner intelligence, our inner voice, which is doesn't come from our brain. The brain loves us, but it's like a helicopter parent, man. So sometimes it just gets involved. It gets too involved, and it blocks our inner resilience, our inner wisdom behind it. So go ahead.
Exactly. No, when you said that, like, I was talking to people at work about it. I'm like, man, did you see it? There was like a video of them making Molotov cocktails.
I know.
And it was like a party. It was like they were making actual cocktails. They looked, and it was hard for me to see it, but like they looked happy. And it was like this weird, how are you happy? Because of the, the environment, everything you're going through.
And I would ask the same question.
Yeah.
But, and see, that's what the brain does.
Right.
Why are they happy?
We're trying to figure it out.
Why am I not happy? But why are they happy? Right? There's the brain right there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're not your brain. You are not your brain. None of you. None. Zero. Zilch. And your intellect is going to say, what is this guy talking about, Sam? He's not a doctor. He's not a PhD. All these, my doctors. No.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Who all of you are, and this is the truth, is resilient, full of love. And when you really think about it, And what I saw myself after suffering for decades in my thinking, worried about what people thought of me, worried about how much thinking about how much I failed in my life, or how all these things that have happened to me, and being focused on that, and how relationships aren't working out, and they keep go on and on and on. I saw like, holy shit, that's not me. That's programming conditioning. That's the tape recorder hitting play. It doesn't even exist. And our brain plays future mind teller, future fortune teller. Brain doesn't know shit. And then when it happens, like for example, you're talking to a bunch of friends about like your friend Johnny, who just put a bet on a horse and he loses his whole life savings. And you're like, yeah, he's going to lose everything. And it happens. Well, does that mean that or my friends are fortune tellers? No, it's called coincidence.
Yeah.
And once we see the brain tries to play fortune teller, tries to play psychic because it needs to plan. The brain loves to plan. It loves to, and there's nothing wrong with planning, but there's planning and then there's planning, right?
Yep.
Once we see the game the brain is at, what it's doing, the more we can see what's true and what's illusion. 90% of it more is illusion. If it's caught up in this static of negative feeling. If it's caught up in anxiety is not intuition. If you're feeling anxious right now because your brain is future fantasy thinking about something that may happen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets everywhere, don't listen to it, please. It's full of shit. I always say this, and you'll love this, Justin. Our brain is the greatest screenwriter of all time. It's the greatest dictator. Your brain can be Vladimir Putin, Chiang Kai-shek, then it could be, the Mother Teresa and Tony Robbins, and name your favorite artist, right. Oliver Stone, whoever. Knowing that the brain is making up shit in real time, 100% of the time. Knowing that if you could walk around one day without the inner narrator playing around, scripting your environment outside, knowing that the technology that's so brilliant called thought, used in a productive way, can enhance your life in ways never possible. But having discernment to see when the technology is being misused, and why we are sometimes misusing the equipment when we believe our thinking that's not healthy for us, the more we can really have freedom from it.
At what point did you, everything you're saying is great, right? And it's all, I'm thinking, easier said than done. And I'm sure everyone's thinking that, right? How,
exactly.
At what point in your life did you make that switch? Or I guess, was there like a rock bottom moment where it's like, holy shit, I need to make a change because right now everything you're saying is great, right? But you just saying that doesn't mean that me or anyone else can be like, oh, yeah, okay, we're good now,
It's completely up to all of you listening right now. You all have agency over your thinking. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, do your own work, do your own research, do your own investigative work. You're going to come back to what I'm saying now. 100%. I'm willing to bet the ranch on it. Literally. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not some self-help bullshit. This is not some seminar. This is not a tool. This is who you are. This is how the system works. You have a brain. That's a computer, right? That is creating your story in real time as we speak. We're living in a world of thought, not our outside circumstances. That's 100% true. That's not, scientists know this. Everybody knows this. We have about 80,000 thoughts a day. And, just like a salad bar, you go to your favorite salad bar, at a Vegas hotel and buffet, you have agency over what thoughts you want to bring into this world and what thoughts you don't. Well, that's 100% true. For me, I was really suffering, fucking suffering. I thought that the narrator was true. I thought that because of my circumstances, that means I'm, a loser, or I'm this or that and the other. I believed everything going through my head. And I remember there was a moment we had you're from the Northeast,
like
right?
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago.
Yep.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Suburbs. So no one come at me. I'm not from Chicago.
The North Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cold, man. Too cold.
Yeah.
I'm a wimp. Okay.
It's 70 today and I was sweating. It was just like 40 last week.
Yeah.
So,
Midwest.
yep.
You can have it. No, I love Chicago.
No,
it's
it's
a fun
fine.
place to visit. You guys can have it. Okay, so in 2017, we had one of the largest fires in the history of Southern California here in Santa Barbara. Okay, and I woke up to thinking I was going to die. Like, I live across near the beach, all of Santa Barbara. We all thought this town was going to burn down. That's how close the fire was. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't see the fucking sun. Okay, I was by myself. I just got separated from now I'm divorced, but from almost 5 years ago, from my ex-wife. Okay, she took off and left. I've had every indication in the outside world that my life wasn't worth living. Okay, which is complete bullshit, by the way. It feels that way right now. It felt that way in the moment, but state of mind is everything. But state of mind moves through us. You know, you could be worth billions of dollars, have the greatest wife, and still be depressed. How do you explain that if thought and thinking is all true? It's not. It's made up. So I'm sitting there. I wake up to, I can't breathe. Like, you can't see the sun. This is before Christmas, 2017. And so I'm alone in my small California beach town. My family's all back east. I have some relatives in the Bay Area, but that's 400 miles away. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to die. Did I freak out? I mean, literally, I had to like drop down to the floor and breathe because it was that bad. You couldn't breathe.
Fuck.
Okay. No joke. And I'm like, this is it. Done. The power went out. No power. 7 o'clock in the morning. It was so, if you've ever, you watch films on the nuclear, like if you watch like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the old films, black and white films, when it happened, you'll see like all the fallout. You won't be able to see the sun. You can see like, that's how it looked. It looked like a nuclear bomb just dropped. I looked up, all I could see was like fires in the distance, big angry fires. So I'm like, fuck, this is it. Like, no electricity. I barely have any gas. I didn't prepare. Nobody knew. The fire was, the winds were blowing at 40 miles an hour. We had these sundowners, the Santa Ana winds that blow in. That's why from the desert, it's like a hairdryer. So yeah, it no bueno. So, you know, Sam that I thought I knew would have freaked out. Like, had like gone into some kind of shock, right? And the worst panic attack in the history of panic attacks. And I have an honorary doctorate in panic attacks. So we're starting a union. So I'm sitting in my bedroom. Actually, no, I'm laying on the ground because I'm like, you know, it was so hot. I could feel the heat from the fire a couple miles away. And I got towels and I put warm water on them and just wrapped it around my face, put them under the doorways, just so like more smoke wouldn't come in. Because in California, we sleep with our windows open because we don't have air conditioning. We don't need it.
Okay.
The weather here is very mild. So long story short, something else happened. Instead of me having a panic attack or a heart attack and dying, I'm alone. My wife, my then wife just left me. This is not good.
All the reasons to have a panic attack, anxiety, all of that.
All the reasons to not exist on this planet anymore. If I'm believing all my thinking, because all of us have crazy thinking. So I'm present. I'm not even scared, which is even when I think about it, I'm like, how is that possible?
Right.
And the reason why and I'm very calm, present, relaxed. But I wasn't relaxed at my friend's wedding. In fact, I was really anxious at my friend's wedding recently. How do you explain that? Thought and thinking moves through us. We have no control over it. And techniques, affirmations, they're great, but you're layering a system that doesn't need help. You're perfect, ladies and gentlemen, underneath your thinking. And if I can survive a fire that I knew, my brain knew. See, my brain was playing fortune teller, was going to kill me. That was the example all I needed to see like what's true versus what's illusion. And I got a call. My cell phone was still working. We still had cell service. about an hour later from a friend who was visiting from Ireland. And she's like, Sam, I'm going to LAX, which is like 2 hours away because I'm in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
I have an extra, we have some room. You want to jump in with us and we'll get the hell out of here. So when you trust that life's got you, when you trust that you'll know what to do when you know when to do it. Like, I didn't plan before this podcast. I might wrote a couple things down, but the best way is to check in. And just, I'm present. I'm right here with you, man. I'm here with Justin. Once I saw that, I knew that life's got me. That, I don't have control over any of it. I also don't have control over thinking. Yeah, I don't have control over my ADHD. Medication's like a software update for me. This, it's machine part. It's moving. It's a machine. It's synapsing. It's not truth. Your laptop is not truth. It's not, you're not the sum total of your laptop computer between your ears. And that's what I saw. That's 100% true. We get caught up in thought and thinking, conditioned thought and thinking, trauma when it hits play. When we have an old recording that hits play, it comes out of nowhere. Triggers, whatever you want to call it. You call it a ham sandwich, doesn't matter. Once I saw like the game in I've never been in a fire like that before. And I've been in a lot of fires. I mean, we have 4 seasons in Southern California. We have forest fires, wind, mudslides, and earthquakes. Those are our seasons. It's like very biblical here, but it's gorgeous. Yeah. Once I saw that, freaking game changer, man. That I don't have to do anything. I don't need to like go to. Therapy is great if you like it. Great. Now, look, to each his own. I again go with God, whatever works for you.
Sure.
For me, I don't need to regurgitate the past. That's in the past. It doesn't have anything on me. Nothing. PTSD is a program. It's a thought program. 100% true.
Okay.
Well, it is. I mean,
I'm not arguing. I'm just curious. Yeah.
You're like,
no, I'm kidding, Justin. I love it. You're like, because I'm like anti, black and white. You're dealing with anxiety. Here's a medication. PTSD. Here's a medication. It's like
software update.
Right.
Training wheels. Listen, we are dealing with a brain that loves you. Just like a laptop computer, it gets buggy. I'll give you another example. I used to have a fear of flying. That sucks. And a phobia of driving on the freeway. And I love driving. That sucks too. When you love doing something, but your fear, all of a sudden you have because I got into an accident about 25 years ago in Miami. Okay. Driving. And at the time it was fine. It wasn't a terrible accident, but whatever was stored in my unconscious or in my brain, the recording keeps hitting play when I'm driving on the 101, by the Skirball Center somewhere, or in the Valley or in Santa Barbara. I'm like, what? Why? I'm fine. I got great music on. I got Prince on. I got gorgeous day. Why am I so scared? I don't know. I don't know how the can opener works, but I do know that we're dealing with machinery. Our brain is the ultimate piece of machinery and hardware that's brilliant, sophisticated, yet it doesn't know. It only knows what you put in. That's it. Yeah.
Because it's predicting that something bad could happen when it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I love the fact that I can take Ritalin and as a software update. And for me, it actually makes me tired. So I know I have ADHD.
Right. Right.
That's the litmus. It's like, I get tired. I'm like, oh, but it basically gets the, clean. I call it cleans out the fuel injectors. It gets the fuel pumping into the combustion chamber. But once I saw, I have a super brain, just like you do, Justin, just like your listeners do. For me, it's a neurodiverse, very speedy brain that doesn't have anti-lock brakes. It's going 175 miles an hour in a parking lot. It's just knowing my frailties and loving all of me. Knowing that I have ADHD. What you call it? I don't know. Call it whatever you want. Call it a ham sandwich. Call it a pastrami sandwich and rye. No, I love Chicago pizza. So call it
there you go.
There you go. Oh yeah. The thick, forget about it.
People hate it.
Really?
Well, outsiders. It's not pizza.
I love it.
Who cares?
I love you guys in Chicago. I just don't like the weather. It sucks.
It sucks. It's funny every single time. Like I say, a couple times a week. Oh, I don't even know why we live here. I don't know why we live here.
Because you guys are You know why you love it? Because the people. Yeah. I've met some of the coolest fucking people I've ever met. Funny as fuck, real, hardworking,
resilient. Yeah.
Resilient.
Yeah.
And it's within all of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much evidence of it in all the great sages. And I'm getting back to my bully pulpit, but all the great sages from Buddha to Gandhi to Jesus. Name your favorite all-star prophet, your MVP prophet, right? Been pointing to the same thing that I've been talking about. Point to the quiet space, ladies and gentlemen. You see it all day long. You're just not paying attention. It's that weird, and you're a creative person. I know you are. You're a creative type. I grew up as like, I was in my thinking so much of the time, especially in like high school. I mean, I was a skinny shrimp of a kid. I just finished growing. I'm kidding, in my 40s, but I really was scared because my thinking was telling me, Sam, be careful. You don't want to like do the wrong thing in front of others. Sam, you don't want to expose your learning disabilities. Well, no, Sam, you don't want to expose the fact that you have frailties. God forbid that they know you're human. Well, since I've been misdiagnosed so many times, I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. Right. And again, knowing that the brain's going to do stuff. The brain's always got to do stuff. It's always got to inform us. It's always got to get involved. It's always got to, jump, it's like crisscross, jump around. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's always trying to protect us, even when we don't need protection.
Right. And like one day I'm driving because I love driving. It's like thank God, because Southern California is one big freeway, not Santa Barbara, or like the Chicago Loop, the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember my brain's just doing some shit. It's like, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like I'm like Joe Pesci talking to myself. It's like, what am I, a clown? Do I amuse you, brain? Like, stop it. The same thing, ladies and gentlemen. Like, you don't realize like how much of a gift this life is. Like, yeah, sometimes it sucks to have to wake up in the morning, go to work in the cold, with the cold, and responsibilities and debt and blah, blah, blah. Get it. I'm there with you. But at the same time, that's all thought. That's all hyperbole. It's like when I work with a client, and that's why I didn't really want to share my story, because nobody wants to hear my fucking, we all got story. Right. Okay. All right. My client, if I work with a new client, they'll tell me their story. So what I do is I listen for truth. I listen to right now. I wait for them to settle. I'll give you an example. I had a client is fresh in recovery from drugs and alcohol. And I used to visit with him at this really hoity-toity private facility in Malibu. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's like, I don't know how
sounds about right for Malibu.
Yeah, totally. The boo. I don't know how any of these recovery clients could pay attention to just, I guess that's what it's so gorgeous.
Right.
And, their monthly, I think the monthly nut is like 50 grand a month just to go there. But right. People need help. It doesn't matter how much it's going to cost. Money's no object if it's going to help.
Right.
And people can't afford it. There's always other options.
Right.
And that's going back to saying, you know what to do when you need to do it. Like, you got it, ladies and gentlemen, in all due time. So working with him, he's really combative. I watched him before I started working with him. Like, I got there an hour early just to observe. He didn't even know I was watching him. Like, I wasn't like spying on him, but just like observing casually. Sure. He was combative with the doctors. He was complaining about everything. He was all over the place. And then when I sat down with him for the first time, we just shot the shit for like the first 45 minutes. We talked about like his favorite football team. He loves the Chargers, and we're going into like his favorite Pink Floyd album and just he's laughing at himself. And we're so present. We're like two blokes talking about total nonsense for like first half hour. And I said to him, I said, do you know what's going on right now between us? And he's like, no. This is what I said to him. This is what I share. This is what I'm going to share with you, that there's an intelligence behind life that's constantly informing us. Sometimes our mind gets in the way and can contaminate that experience. But knowing that our human psychology is our human psychology, all of it is good. It's all how we interpret it. And that when we have moments of total presence, like you and I are having, and looking at those moments more versus looking at what our mind is telling us how difficult or bad our situation is, or how much we need to do this, or what we need to do to prevent that, or future plan about the potentiality of what's going to happen, the more peace we have, knowing that you'll know what to do when you need to do it. 100%.
Yeah.
I said that, thought and thinking is like turbulence on an airplane sometimes. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, right? There's nothing you can do about being on a plane on an aluminum cylinder at 35,000 feet going 500 miles an hour. When you hit a air pocket, you hear turbulence. But having faith that the pilot knows what he's doing, thousands and thousands of hours of training, knowing that you're going to fly through it. The plane's not going to crash. It's uncomfortable, like anxiety, like depression or depressive thinking, like overwhelm, right? We all experience it. Knowing that you're going to find a calmer thought altitude if you allow your thinking to settle. It always does, 100% of the time. And to love all of your shit, to love your quirks and features.
Yeah.
Because you find your tribe anyways. You can't, and the more people that pretend to be someone else because they're afraid of what they might find within themselves or what they'll share, right?
Yep.
The more you're just pushing against your own experience. The more you can't do anything about your psychology. You can notice it. You can be more aware of when your mind's going nutty, right? I mean, it's going to, but the greatest part of that is it's okay. It's okay. Either way, it's okay. It's your life, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I was just going to say, like, what I'm hearing, because I kind of wanted to go back to like even driving in the car, but we kind of, we got back there. So what I'm hearing is it's simple. I'm going to say simple, but it's as simple as, it's as simple as, and I preach this as well. It's like trusting the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, right? That everything's happening, you're safe. Yes. And that, that's how, like, even when, when you said you're doing panic attacks in the car, that's kind of the strategy. Sometimes. Yeah. And
it's not like I'm right. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's what I want to get to. Right.
You cannot, you're bucking against your own experience if you try to you think therapy or thought stopping techniques is going to work for you. Maybe it will, but it's a lot of work to try to fix something that was never broken in the first place. Your system is perfectly designed to settle on its own.
Right.
And once you see that insecurity, ego, and all that stuff is a thought program, not saying that you might not get hurt again by a girl or whatever, a boy, right. or you may not, you're still going to experience grief. And if you get depressed and you get caught up in depression, okay, it's going to happen. So if it does, right. But resisting depression, right. And allowing yourself to experience every aspect of our human psychology. And if you can't figure out how to get out of the darkness, you will. I guarantee it. You will. You'll know what to do. It's like I was listening to, there's these two great psychologists who shared this understanding. In fact, they're not even licensed anymore because it's such bullshit for them. No offense to licensed psychologists. There's some great psychologists out there.
Right.
Linda and George Pransky, you can look them up.
Okay.
They're just lovely, very direct and heart-centered people.
Like that.
She was talking about her own depression. She said after her parents died, she's in her 60s or 70s now, but this is like 30 years ago. She got caught in a big, deep depression. She was talking about it and she was saying, yeah, I got depressed. It's like, well, I share this understanding of the principles and I'm depressed, but all of a sudden, like, you're like Superman and you're not, because I have this tech. It's not a technique. It's how the system really works.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I was okay with being depressed, even though it didn't feel good until I knew how to get, until I knew how to see it settle. I'm depressed. Like, okay. If you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be depressed, you're going to be depressed. Like, don't fight it, experience it and see it for what it is. And then one day you'll know what to do. So she was sharing this experience. She's like, sometimes I was okay when I got depressed. It sucks. Like, sucks. Being depressed and to experience grief. I'll know for sure, 100%, how to navigate out of the darkness. I'll just know. It's knowing. We all have that knowing. But to fight against our own psychology is just as crazy as our psychology sometimes.
Right.
You know, and that's what I saw from watching these videos and what's going on in Ukraine. Like, they're just as human as you and I are. They have their fears just like you and I have them. Their OCD, their depression, their anxiety, their ADHD. And we can start a whole acronym club disorder. Every DSM, right? Like
everything.
But the one thing that we share all together is our humanness, who we are underneath, and who we are underneath the noise. That's the truth within all of us. That's our essential nature, man.
Do you have any, like, so, you know, we're going back to like being, you know, present, you know, like right now, like I'd say it, you know, to my wife when I'm done recording all the time. It's like, wow, I was so present.
Yeah.
And you just feel, it doesn't matter how, like, I'm going to be totally honest. Like yesterday when I messaged you saying like, hey, like,
you were anxious.
Yeah.
You're in it.
So
You're in the soup.
Yeah. And like, so I'm in home improvement sales. So we do fences. So now that
Cool.
it's warm, holy fuck. Like it went from, which is great. It's great. Right. But I booked myself solid.
I knew it was, but I knew you were. I could feel. Yeah.
I knew. And I
just wanted to be on your fucking show, dude. Yeah. If it had to take me to say no, because I am booked next week, dude.
Sure.
I get
no, and I believe you.
I mean, thank you, Lord.
Right.
Thank you, Jobu. Thank you. You know, whatever.
Right.
Great movie. Major League. Go ahead.
But I felt, to be honest, like yesterday, I was so overwhelmed all day. But like what you said, I got home and eventually at one point, it was gone.
Yeah.
And I was able, because I was worried I'm not going to have time to prep, nothing.
Dude, totally you don't need a prep though. That's the thing. You saw it though. You're natural at this. No, I'm telling you. I tell you, you sucked. But you really are, Justin.
Thank you.
Kidding. I wouldn't tell you if you suck. I'm just.
You probably wouldn't be here.
No, I would share with you. I said, you know, where are you right now? I would, if you asked me, like, I would say, where are you right now? What's going on? You know, you seem caught up.
Sure.
I knew you were caught up, but I did, you know, I'm booked next week, so I just couldn't do it. But
no problem.
And thank you so much for, I know, you know, sometimes it gets really busy and, you know, this is how you make your living. So I get it. Totally get it.
Right.
And thank you for allowing this to happen.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the other day, I'm going to tell you, because I want your audience to hear this too.
Yeah.
I was driving on the fucking freeway and listen, drives here are not that bad compared to like Florida.
Right.
That's a generalization. My parents live in South Florida in Boca Vista, in Boca. And I love Boca. I love Florida. Don't get me wrong. It's a gorgeous place, but drivers there are fucking crazy. Chicago drivers are very passive aggressive, which is crazy everywhere. But then they're not. So someone cut me off and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed for no reason. Anxious, ambitious. I had some ambition to get to make, you know, make some kesef, make some money. Someone cut me off and they did that at the wrong time. I was in such a bad mood. I'm fucking screaming at myself. I'm yelling. I found myself going too fast to catch up to this guy. I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I just became aware of my brain trying to protect myself by like chasing after. I'm in my Volkswagen. It's not a fast car. I love it. I love Volkswagen. I've always driven Volkswagen.
What are you going to do?
I know exactly. It doesn't
What are
even
you gonna
matter.
do?
But that's the insanity of being
Yeah.
human.
Mhm.
Like that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I get off at the exit, 5 miles from where I was, and I'm at the stoplight because I had to get an oil change and blah 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 bullshit, and I was just in a really bad mood. I got to Tire Pros, whatever the fuck it's called, Tire for Less, because they
Sure.
do a thing. They had to do a whole thing. Check engine light was on too.
Okay.
VLI. The car's only a year, of course, Volkswagen. I love it though. It's a very human vehicle. Always quirks and features. Check engine light was on, oil change, tires rotated, and all of a sudden, it's like it never happened.
Right.
It's like do you have kids?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, okay. You will.
Okay.
Nieces and nephews. You have cousins, nieces and
Yes,
nephews.
nieces, nephews. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they little?
I mean, I've noticed since they were, yeah.
Okay.
Not,
Are they
not
grown
like
up
9
still?
and 12 now. So
Okay.
now they're little.
They're still little kids. They're still
Right.
kids. So when we're little kids, and especially my niece and nephew, one's 7.
Okay.
Sorry, one's 6 and one is 8. And I watch them have temper tantrums and think, I'm glad I'm like a rent-a-parent, like uncles, you're an
Oh,
uncle.
yeah.
You give them back. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember one time my niece, she was having a major nuclear meltdown. I don't know. I think it was over because she couldn't find her socks or
Sure.
someone bullshit, she couldn't find her lunchbox, her something important. And within 5 minutes, it was like it never happened. That's what thinking is. It's always moving through us. It's like, a train pulling into Union Station and then leaving,
Mhm.
Our train never, and I was listening to this other principals coach talk about like thought is like in life in general, not just thought, not just our thinking, is like a train. Train's not going to just fall off the tracks. It's going to get to its destination. There might be some bumps along the way, clicking and clacking, maybe who knows, some delays, but you're always going to get home. Excuse me. I got to my destination, which was very exciting, the tire center. And I just, because I was just being really observant of my state of mind, it was gone. I was Sam again. That's why we're not our thinking, because who Justin is funny and doesn't take himself that seriously, and is loving and is resilient and is, all the things that make us spiritual beings in this meat jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you fell in love. We don't fall in love with our thinking. Like our intellect is not like, well, she looks like a pretty good specimen.
This will work.
You know what Darwin said? I
Right.
think I'm going to cite Kafka next. Let me see if she knows. No, dude.
Right.
It's just knowing, and knowing doesn't have a emotional signature. There's no like, the butterflies when we're kids, like teenagers, of like infatuation. That's not love. Love is a knowing, that a connection, right? And again, when you know, and then you don't again, and then So it's like when I saw that in the prime example, if I was going to give you in the timeline of Sam's life, the biggest example of how I knew this understanding, these principles, is how we really work, not how we were conditioned to believe it works innocently. And like when we were growing up, and I don't know about you, but I wasn't taught how my mind works. I was taught the biology of it.
Right.
I wasn't taught how thinking works.
No.
I was taught like there's consequence for action, and very puritanic, bullshit.
Yep.
But when I saw the system really works, like if I let it settle, then I'm home. And when I'm caught up, I'm okay. I'm still okay. I'm always going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
No one likes to be anxious. No one likes to be upset. But the more you notice it, the more you look at it, the less of a vice-like grip it will have, and the less you will suffer on your daily existence. And you may get caught up to the point where you get depressed, but you'll find your way out of it, because we all have a built-in inner resilience. And when we try to use techniques to layer the system with modalities, and I can go on and on, there's so many different, the Sedona method, and there's thought stopping techniques, and there's EMDR and there's CBT. I
Mhm.
mean, we
So
can go on
much.
forever. So much. You're layering the system with levers, as Dr. Amy Johnson, who I love. She's a coach and psychologist who wrote a book just called Just a Thought. It just came out. I love her work. Amy Johnson, ladies, Dr. Amy Johnson, who also gave up her licensing just to become a coach and
Wow.
share this understanding, be of service.
Wow.
Like the levers of techniques. If it works for you, then great. But it's a lot of work, man. I don't know about you, but I don't have time to sit there and be like, you know,
Oh, you're right.
happy thoughts,
Right.
thoughts.
Right.
Like Stewart's, remember? I don't know. Maybe I'm too old. I'm older than you. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Well,
do it.
no.
Stuart Smalley from SNL.
No.
Oh man,
Oh,
Stuart. It was a
like the
in the 90s.
man-child? No, I'm thinking of
What's the man-child?
Stewart from like Mad
No,
TV,
no.
I think.
Oh, Stewart's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Stuart
what I'm
Smalley was like, he would look in the mirror. He's like, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people love me. Well, listen, if that works for you, then great.
thinking. Yeah.
There's no instruction manual, but I do know that most of you listening right now were never really shown how mind really works. And what I share with my clients and in my book, by the
Mhm.
way, we're changing the name.
Okay.
It's going to probably change another time, but it's called, right now it's called it's called Not Broken.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
And I am just as anxious as you are.
Mhm.
And just as, we can arm wrestle for it.
Sure. Right.
How anxious we are.
Right.
But what I do know that the road less traveled is seeing it for what it is and being okay when you caught up and you forget, because you're going to forget who you are. What I
Mhm.
mean is you're going to get caught up in your thinking and get depressed and anxious, but then you're going to remember again. But once you notice it more and seeing it settle in real time, like I remember during the beginning of the pandemic, it was really embarrassing because my anxiety was like at a 10 and like at a 20.
Mhm.
I went to visit a friend in Colorado. I was so anxious about the like, again, believe in my thinking, caught up because, dude, thinking is so like the brain is the greatest used car salesman. The brain is the
Yeah.
greatest screen. It's so convincing because you're feeling it. We feel our thinking. So I remember, I'm kidding. I'm in a gorgeous day. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, like late spring. It's gorgeous, like 70 degrees. And I'm wearing a mask outside. And this is before we knew.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. It's still obnoxious. So what I was doing was completely obnoxious and I
Right.
was so anxious, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, my OCD and everything else was just freaking like
Full
check
blast.
engine,
Yep.
full blast, dude, turbo. I'm like screaming at my friend because he won't wear a mask outside. And we're best friends for almost 35 years. We met in Colorado because we were going to go on this hiking adventure just to be away from people. What happens? There's people everywhere. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, this was my vacation, my one trip to get the hell out, just to relax.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so anxious. I'm wearing the mask. I'm giving the 6 foot. We're hiking in the middle of this gorgeous glacier. It's called St. Mary's Glacier.
Okay.
And it was crowded. I mean, for pandemic, there's
Sure.
people around us. I'm screaming at him. I'm like, wear your fucking mask, all this shit. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm caught up right now. I completely forgot. And then about an hour later, I was fine. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I want to be conscious of your time,
Thank you,
but
sir.
before we get kind of in our last question, what I'm hearing through a lot of this, and I think what the listeners kind of need to grasp from this is, one, I mean, first of all, if you're looking for someone to work with, obviously Sam, give him a shot, reach out to him, man. I mean, I love it's just no bullshit.
No bullshit.
And there's just so much bullshit out there.
Because you'll know when I'm full of shit. Because that's intuition. I'm a terrible bullshitter. And I was in sales for a while. And
okay.
I was good at sales because it was a service. It was farm.
Yeah.
I worked in big pharma.
Okay.
I worked for Eli Lilly for years.
Sure.
Hi, Eli. No, I'm kidding. That for a while. But I love sales because I'm being of service. I'm being of service and offering a product that may help people. 100%. I'm here of service to my clients. This is not about Sam. I'm sharing what I know from my own human experience. And that's why I love what I do. And that's why I love my client. Like, this is not about Sam. And I know that once my clients fall in love with every aspect of their human frailties and their human psychology and all the bullshit, that's when they can fire me. Because
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Of course. And, what I'm grasping from this and what I'm going to take away from this, obviously there's a lot, but it's, ride that wave. You got to ride it out and be okay with it, embrace it, because once you start fighting it, it's just going to get worse and worse. And then you're in the same thought spiral and you're feeding those negative thoughts. And, I talk about, yeah, exactly. And I talk about on here, the day I started talking about my anxiety, depression, all that stuff, yes, it still happens time to time, but it is so much. Yeah, and it will. And that's another thing. It's not going to go away. I mean, permanently.
Yeah.
But once I embraced it and told other people, like the first thing I tell people to do, like, it's like, tell somebody,
let it move through.
Tell somebody,
talk to your goldfish, whatever.
Who gives
doesn't give a shit. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Listen,
take the mask off.
Take the mask off. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all one in this soup. Like underneath all our thinking, we're the same energy. Like, I know that sounds very California. We're all, it's very, very Terrence McKenna-esque, it's like we're all psychonauts here. Like, listen, ladies and gentlemen, your brain is a machine, like your OBD3 or 2 in your car, right? That's a fact. It's gonna fuck up. You're gonna fuck up. Hopefully you won't go to jail for it. No, I'm kidding. Listen, the consequences for action, get it, but
sure.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? You will find your tribe that accepts you for who you are. That's at work too. Yeah. Like if you just got fired from your job, that's saying something that you haven't found your work tribe yet.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that it's horrible. We all need to eat. We all need to pay our bills. But at the same time, it's your life and you can find your tribe that accepts you for you. You still got to effort it, but put a little bit of effort in the universe, and who you are will take form. I mean, if I asked myself, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, if I was going to become a podcaster, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about,
right,
man?
Right, exactly.
What are you talking about, Willis? Like,
right.
Who the fuck has time for podcasting, let alone like, I'm doing it.
Right.
I have an audience. I mean, I eventually would love to have sponsors and make and monetize this thing. Right now I'm being of service. And it's wonderful. And if I can help myself help you at the same time, oh man. And that's what this is all about. Like, people think like with coaching and therapy, whatever you want to call it, again,
sure,
call whatever you want. We're being of service because we're all human. We're also have our frailties. We all have this psychology moving through us, but we also have divinity underneath the static of all that thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, it's also about simplicity. It's all about simplicity. When your mind starts to overcomplicate things, you're in the soup. You're caught up. That's not a time to, I call it like the other day, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent real quick. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah. It's up to you, man. I mean,
I want to find, if I could share this as a final example.
Doesn't matter for me, man. We can go 2 hours. I don't care. Okay. It's up to you.
Okay, wonderful. I want to be conscious of your time.
No, I'm good.
My next client, I have at 4:30. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool.
But sorry, we're 2 hours behind you.
No, that's fine.
So another example of thought and thinking, it's kind of like fog. I don't know if you get, every place gets foggy sometimes, but in California we have microclimates because we're mountains and elevation. And I was on a Sunday, I was coming back from this town called Santa Ynez, driving down this 2-lane road, mountainous road. I'm at elevation, and it's called a San Marcos Pass. It goes right down into Santa Barbara. Gorgeous road. And all of a sudden I hit a fog bank. And driving through fog, it can be pretty gnarly if you're at 2,500 feet and there's no guardrails. It's like, it's kind of like Malibu Canyon Road, or I don't know if y'all experience or
we don't have canyon roads here.
No, you don't. You have loops.
Flat.
You have loop, the circle highway goes around Chicago, which is great. Yeah. I love Chicago, but cold. Anyways, I don't know. See, I mean, and don't watch, and ladies and gentlemen, don't see the movie Station 11 because it takes place in Chicago and it's pretty.
Never seen it, so maybe don't have to. Yeah, don't have to.
Anyways, so I'm driving down the pass. I hit a fog bank. thick. I can't see 2 inches in front of me, let alone the car in front of me.
Shit.
And it's sunny night, and it's a 2-lane road. There's no guardrail at this area, and it's all down. Gravity,
No.
right?
Yeah, right.
No bueno. And okay, so my everything's kicking in. Like my feet, I think I'm gonna have another panic attack. I'm white knuckling it. I feel, the first signs of a panic attack. I don't want to. You all know what that is. That feeling is.
Yeah.
I'm starting to sweat. The sweating, the white knuckles, the part you can feel the brain is being really stupid at this point.
Oh yeah.
It's like when your MacBook Pro, the fans that go on in the background, it sounds like it's taking off like an aircraft.
Yes.
And then it freezes up, and then you're fucked, and then you have to reboot it, and you might be in the middle of writing a document or sending an email. And
yep.
that's
those fans on, you're fucked. I know exactly what
once the fans trigger go on, you're fucked. No, and a $2,000 computer shouldn't do that. But anyways, that's what my brain was doing. Like all of our brains do it sometimes. The fans are on. It's like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. But brain's saying, Sam, remember when this happened before?
Right.
You need to be more careful next time and stop driving through the fog. Right. Fucking brain. Anyways, I can't see. And I'm starting to white knuckle, but then I'm noticing what's going on. And I'm starting to do I'm getting anxious just talking about it, but I'm starting to do, diaphragmatic breathing techniques are not working, all that nonsense. I'm like going back to my old toolkit, which is nonsense. And then I see the anxiety. I start feeling like the brain is cooking up because of the fog, which is complete bullshit. Our brain is conditioned to believe that our outside situation is causing us, to feel a certain way and trying to protect us, but it's so stupid. How can that help me? How could that be helpful driving through the fog at 2,000 feet with no guardrail on the highway, people going 70 miles an hour?
Right.
Or should be very present, right?
Right.
Yeah, So long story short, I'm driving, and then I turn on, my go-to is either I'll put on classical music, thinking that's going to break me out of my, my anxiety. That doesn't help. And then all of a sudden, I'm out of the fog bank, and I look in front of me, and it's crystal clear. It was like sunset. And I look behind me, and there's the fog bank. Like it was a little fog bank, but it was really thick. That's thought, man.
Wow.
See that as the metaphor for our thought and thinking. Sometimes we get caught up in a fog bank, and all we got to do is hang in there. It sucks. It's uncomfortable, but you're going to get through it. Like I did, like everybody does, Wow. And sometimes you might have a panic attack. I'm mad, and it sucks, and it's a horrible feeling, but it's not truth. And once we see we have all the tools within us to pull off on the side of the road or sit with it and let our thinking settle, not knowing that it's going to happen again. If it does, it may. I can't predict the future. That you can always pull over on the side of the road, and if you can't, you can sit with it. You can be in that moment and being really seeing this miraculous machine doing its best. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it really is.
I have a built-in machine that's not perfect, that's going to protect me against stuff. There's no saber-toothed tiger in a fog bank. I mean, maybe there are, but I do know that we do have a brilliant machine between our ears that's not perfect. It's gonna keep us safe. It's gonna keep us safe. But we do have agency over what thoughts we want to give life to in this world. And sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
But just knowing that you're gonna be okay anyways. And even if the future looks murky for some of you listening, things aren't going right for you. Maybe you just lost your job, trying to make ends meet. Maybe you had a cancer diagnosis. Maybe, what you can fill in the blanks, doesn't really matter.
Right.
You'll be okay. You're going to be okay. Once you see when you get present, it is okay. Even if everything outside maybe not be okay, that you'll know what to do if you're present more. and you don't have to do anything to be present. Right?
Yeah. That was an amazing story. It's so, it literally just is like a metaphor for so many things. But
Yeah,
so I have to push back a little bit.
of course.
Now, obviously,
I love speaking to your intellect.
try. How
because
do
it's
you
always going to push back.
100%? And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think and I love playing devil's advocate. I do it every day
Right.
because I try to, it's probably
Right.
anxiety, whatever,
Yeah.
but when obviously it's like, be present.
Yeah.
How the hell do you recommend people to be present? Truthfully, I mean, like when you're crisis mode, how can you be present? Like right now, me and you, like I'm very present, but if I'm having an anxiety attack on the freeway or whatever it is, how do you recommend people to get present? Or do you have any tips or anything like that?
Remember when you mentioned about the Molotov cocktails?
Yeah.
Okay. They knew what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even it sounds crazy. I mean, you and I sitting here in America, right, with all the comforts of being in America right now in this moment. Like, what the Molotov cocktail? Yeah. I mean, that sounds crazy.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do. Listen to me right now. You will know what to do. Like, you know thyself. When you're in your intellect, you're not present, and you're not being just when you're in your intellect.
Mm-hmm.
The intellect is great. The intellect is the greatest technology ever, but the intellect doesn't know shit when it comes to dealing with anxiety, because it's coming from the same place that's creating thought, right? And we're not our thinking. So knowing that just seeing it, just like getting really curious about like what is really going on here. Like, okay, like I knew what to do when I had a panic attack on the 101 freeway. Pull over. You'll know what to do, and that's okay. Like, you'll know what to do at that moment, because affirmations and techniques, if that works for you, then great. But that's a lot of work for very limited return.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what a doctor says. I don't care what a coach says, that it's a traditional coach, or I've had the one person that I remember, I did a symposium, like a group thing a couple of years ago with, a whole bunch of people. And when I would share this understanding, I said, does anybody know what I'm talking about right now? And they're like, no. And then one guy said, yeah, I know. I get it. It's like mindfulness and, science of mind. And he was the only guy that would argue with me during the entire time. Because why? He was speaking from his intellect, not from him. He wasn't speaking from his heart. He wasn't speaking from him. He was speaking from his brain. And that's great if you're a mechanical engineer. The intellect is great, building. Listen, when we use the intellect the right way, when we're using it to work for us, not against us, knowing that the intellect is terrible with emotions, it's terrible with like how to get out of a panic, how to calm yourself from a panic attack, because that's where it comes from. You're asking the intellect to solve this, to calm yourself down, that's where it's coming from. It's machine. So look beyond your intellect, look beyond the machine, seeing that it's made up. I'm not saying that it when we're caught up in it, it doesn't feel made up. It feels real. Right. We feel our thinking. Just get really curious about how that is possible. Like being on an airplane, a very safe one, the safest mode of transportation.
It's wild to think it's true, though.
Right. It's wild to think it's true. What did you just say?
But it is. It's wild to think it's true, but it is.
Intellect. Right. You're sitting in a chair at 35,000 feet going 500 miles an hour. Of course, the intellect's like, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Point taken. So seeing that there's way beyond your small personal mind, see the fact that like you can get curious about, like, I'm in no condition to be making any decisions about 2 steps from now, 2 minutes from now, when I'm in a panic attack. What I need to do right now, I'll know what to do. You'll know what to do, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow yourself to know what to do. Like, the more you get curious about the noise, like, notice how fucking crazy our brain is sometimes. With all due respect to your brain, like, holy shit, it's pretty damn crazy sometimes. I mean, think about all the 80,000 thoughts, how dark some of them are. We all got some, we don't act on them. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't want to kill anybody. I love people, but I have crazy thoughts about, like we all do.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with the panic attack. Same thing with anxiety attack. Same thing with overwhelm. There was this great coach who was a very famous coach. He wrote a book called Still Power. His name is Garrett Kramer. In his book, he talks about these very, very talented, gifted hockey players, NHL hockey players, like freaking Stanley Cup material, right? Mm-hmm. How when they didn't allow their experience, when we started to push up against their experience, their performance declined. The performance went down, and they would get caught up. When they allowed themselves to get caught up, like when a hockey player has to do a penalty, what do you call it? Penalty point. I don't know that much about hockey.
Oh yeah, go to the penalty box and stuff.
Penalty box, right? Yeah. And this, but when they have to hit the when the other that
like a penalty shot.
Penalty shot. There you go.
Yeah.
When they're just experiencing their anxiety and seeing it and allowing themselves to be anxious, allowing the anxiety to move through by doing nothing, just by sitting with it or standing up at the, about to hit the shot, their performance either increased or wasn't affected by it. Like, for example, I remember going up in stage ones and talking about a whole bunch of people about what I'm sharing with you. Mm-hmm. And I said, and I was really anxious. I mean, seriously, panic attack anxious. I think did I throw up before? Probably. And I just said to the audience, I'm fucking anxious right now. How are you doing, everybody? And I turned the attention away from me after I did that onto them. It's not about me. It's about them. Mm-hmm. Not me, them. Me, them. I did that because it isn't about me. But once we take the focus off of ourselves and not make it that we're not our anxiety, we're just experiencing something right now. We have a whole lot of experiences going on in our life, psychological experiences. Some of them are not comfortable, but it's lovely because it's all part of our experience. Sometimes we forget that the experience is made up, that we're narrating in real time by our mind, and then we remember again. But the more you notice your psychology when it's not fun, when we're having a major anxiety attack in front of 500 people or almost,
right?
The more it will settle quicker, or the more it will have less of a vice-like grip on us when it does happen. Like, I mean, the only thing is to see like what's true versus what's illusion. The more you see and just notice, like, oh shit, I'm having a panic attack. You're seeing it, you're literally noticing it because, okay, I need to pull over. Then you settle. Mm-hmm. It's like an overheating engine, Have you ever driven through Joshua Tree? Have you been to California?
I've been there, but never really as like
desert
an adult,
is gnarly.
To be honest, yeah.
In the summer, we were there. I was my girlfriend loves Joshua Tree.
Okay.
It's very much two extremes. It was 120 degrees, literally. And this is a couple of years ago, and we're driving and the car overheated. I'm in a brand new car. I mean, a brand new car. It wasn't my Volkswagen. It was another. We rented a car.
Sure. Same
thing with our brain. It's just like the MacBook Pro with the fans background. It's like, just notice it. Be really curious. Be your own, white lab coated scientist. Mm-hmm. The more you notice it, more you see the game the brain's playing, the more you see the illusion, and not fighting or trying to push it down or ignore it. Don't ignore it. That's why thought stopping techniques are not a long-term solution.
Right.
That's why affirmations are not a long-term solution, because we always return back to thought. We are not living in a world of our outside circumstance. We're living in a world of thought 100% of the time. And, we've had moments where we're walking around and just being engrossed in the beauty, or in a book, or in a lover, or in a piece of pizza, Chicago pizza. And we're so present, right? We don't know why, but we are. We have this very just unusual calm.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we got bills to pay and we got job to do tomorrow and we got blah, blah, blah. The more we can point to that, the less we suffer.
Yeah.
And then when we suffer, knowing that it's not going to last forever, knowing that we have our built-in inner resilience that's guiding us along this highway of life. I mean, that's true. That's a truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that in the moment.
Right.
But
I think that's the hard part for people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's, we have all the tools in ourselves to get through it. Like you said, it's on us. And it's funny that you bring up the affirmations because like just kind of thinking about it, maybe those affirmations, I've done the affirmations but you sit there for 10 minutes and say them, no shit, you feel better. I'm just thinking,
I mean,
what I mean? Well, and
that
I mean
works
that
and go with
like
God, but I
mean, because maybe it just passed.
Exactly.
Maybe, that's what I'm saying.
One thing has nothing to do with the other. But our
right?
brain, remember, listen, our brain's a tape recorder,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's why little kids bounce back really quickly from panic, anxiety, temper tantrums. Adults are not so lucky because we have decades of recording, right? It's like one big recording studio session. It's like the master tapes.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if, I used to be into the Dead a lot. So there's these like, we used to make, you don't remember, you're too young, but bootleg tapes of different concerts. Actually, my favorite Dead show was in Chicago, 1995. I was in college and I have the bootleg recording. That's the same thing how our thought and thinking works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's innocent. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But just knowing that we do have our traumas, whatever you can, again, call it a ham sandwich, all stored in this hard drive between our ears. The more we see in the moment when we are caught up and allowing this brilliant, most amazing experience of being human to unfold, knowing that our inner narrator, it's making it up in real time, knowing that that's not truth, but going on for the ride anyways. The more we see like what's true versus what's not true. And the more we allow that experience unfold, it's still, it doesn't feel good sometimes, most of the time, the less we will be afraid of it. The less we'll be afraid of our anxiety because we are raised in a society, the West, the East, we're still fucking backwards. We're so provincial, so scared of we're so scared of our psychology. And that's why people like Freud popped up, and God bless him. But the more we welcome our experience instead of be afraid of being anxious. Why are we so afraid of being anxious? Like, I don't get it. Like, why be afraid of our experience? Because that's part of us. Fall in love with all of our experience. And if you're depressed right now, again, I'm sorry. And it's terrible. And we've all been there. I've been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
But the darkness, you'll know what to do to get out of it. And again, medication is great for some folks. I don't poo-poo any of it. But if that's the training wheels to get you out, then great. But you'll know what to do. Like, just in that one statement, you'll know what to do. There's hope there. There's resilience. There's so much there in that one statement that without using anything but just your own sense of who you are, will reduce the likelihood of when it happens again that you will get so caught up in it. And it's so true. Just like, fuck, okay. Yeah. And then when I saw that, like, I don't have any control. You don't have any control. We don't have any control of like forest fires or blizzards we don't. But I knew what to do. I knew what to do without even thinking it. I didn't have to think because it wasn't in my thinking that got me out of it. I just knew what to do. We all have a knowing within us. It's like you knew your wife was the right one for you.
Right.
without having to like weigh the pros and cons on a spreadsheet.
Right. Exactly.
And you might be mad at her. She might think you're a dick sometimes.
Right.
And you should, thought thinking, you might be caught up.
Yeah.
But her essential nature is good, loving,
Mm-hmm.
just like yours is, just like all of ours is.
Right.
There's consequence for action. And we do have this thing called thought and thinking, which is a technology we were never taught how to use. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying it's never too late to see that. And once we see that, great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you bring up like knowing what to do, I kind of want to talk about like my own experience real quick. So
Sure.
typically, for me, I've been on and off medications for depression, anxiety, I would say, I don't know, maybe 8 years, 10 years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, around February, or no, it's probably been 4 or 5 months since I've been off medication.
Okay.
Now, the typical cycle for me is around February, either like seasonal depression hits hard, and around February, I give in, get back on the medication. Start getting busy at work.
Wait, let's go back there a second.
Yeah.
You said give in?
Yes. So as in the depression becomes too much, anxiety becomes too much. But what I do...
Can I cut you off there real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think you're giving
in? Why do I think I'm giving in? Because I'm tired of feeling like that.
And what's wrong with that?
Unproductive.
And what's unproductive mean?
Not making money. Yeah, I guess.
Thought, thinking, thought.
Right.
Again,
right.
It's getting caught up, but you knew what to do. Like,
right.
Who said that was wrong? Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like,
fair. I get what you're saying. Right.
Okay, go ahead.
No, right. So, so typically, and I've kind of looked back, and when I'm on my game, when I say on my game, it's in, I do my morning routine is on point, things like that. So what I want to get to is, this year I didn't decide to go the route of medication. I decided, hey, let's start doing all those things you typically do leading into this next season, busy time with work, and see how it goes. And it's funny because I feel the same, if not better, just because I started doing what I know I needed to do, like we talked about. And for me, it was not touching my phone when I wake up, whether it's 30 minutes or whatever. So I'm not having those instant triggers. No, I don't need those thoughts in my head just because it's on my phone.
Right.
Journaling, exercise. And one thing I wanted to touch base on is, and it's been really effective for me, every morning, I think everyone's got different morning routine, what works for them. But for me, when I do my journaling in the morning, I do, what I'm grateful for, like my top 10 goals macro, and then what I could do that day to help with those goals. But one thing I wanted to ask you about is what I do a check-in with myself.
Okay.
As in anxiety levels, depression levels. And I'm starting to think, just based on what you're saying, maybe that's a bad idea because I'm searching for those things. Like this morning, I wake up, well, I don't feel really anxious. Oh, well, maybe I do.
So your question is, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I love because you're starting to notice what I'm pointing to. You're seeing the break in the fog.
Right.
You're driving out of the fog bank right now.
Yep.
Okay. So what you're asking me is having an inventory, depression, anxiety inventory. Is that bad or is that not good? Is that what you're asking me?
I guess what I'm asking is, do you think? Yeah, yes, but do you think? Because I don't think good and bad is a way to label it, just because maybe for some people it works, I guess. But for me, I might not wake up anxious or depressed, but now that I am checking in with myself, maybe I am now over analyzing, which might be increasing my anxiety or depression symptoms.
And what part of that is true? Is the part that doing an inventory might possibly future predicting, brain future predicting, create more complication in your daily existence, right? Or the fact is that you have a whole bunch of thinking about what may possibly happen if you continue to do this, or overthink it.
Yeah,
you can't overthink it. You can't. You can have a lot of thinking about your thinking about overthinking your thinking.
Right.
But you can't overthink your thinking. It's like Dr. Read Cat in the Hat, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Read Cat in the Hat. See, and thank you for sharing, because what you just shared is a perfect illustration of what our brain does.
Right.
If you like doing a fucking inventory, fucking do it, man. Seriously. If you don't, then don't. But you knew what to do right there. And that's where I'm pointing to. You're seeing it. You're seeing what I'm pointing. You're seeing what I'm sharing.
Right.
We all see it. And the beautiful thing about what you shared is that you just shared exactly what I've been sharing with my clients, and I share with my audience, and I share with myself, and I share with when I talk to myself, and I share with my partner, and she shares with me. It's, man, you can't get it wrong. You only can think you can get it wrong, but you can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Ever. Now.
Damn. Yeah.
You may, stumble sometimes. You may forget. That's okay. Like you may forget, but you're seeing it, and you knew to do this podcast too. You didn't start this podcast because your intellect said, well,
right.
It's a great therapeutic, catharsis. You know what Freud said about, no, you didn't do, you just did it because you love it.
Yeah.
You could be talking about fences. You could have a podcast on your job. I mean, there are plenty of podcasts on what you do, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
You knew what to do. You didn't have to think this. This comes naturally to you. So if doing these inventories is working for you, that's okay. Because the feelings around it, and a lot of feeling, whether positive or negative, especially that obviously negative emotion is just being too zoomed in the moment. Our state of mind is independent. Again, it's like think of the fog bank metaphor. Think of the plane turbulence metaphor. Thought turbulence. It's independent of any of it, but our brain needs to find an outside object, and this is truth, to blame. Because the brain needs to constantly solve problems.
Yeah.
That's the intellect. A lot of things in life don't need to be solved. This is one of them. So my friend, you're on the right track.
Thank you.
Was that helpful?
Absolutely. Yep. Very helpful. I think it's gonna be helpful not only for, I wanted to ask because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. I don't, honestly, we could talk for hours, and
yes,
that's a great compliment to yourself. And
thank you.
I appreciate everything you've said. It's so informative
as we speak. It's growing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you haven't had ego death? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yes. Yeah. The ego death is when I saw what that's fucking made up too, man.
Right.
I saw the fucking bullshit. My brain, dude. People that are self-deprecating all the time. Okay, and that's just pathological self-deprecation, which means that it's hurting them, and it's not help. That's where I'm pointing to. Like, fuck, life is funny. Life can be sucky too. Yeah. But I love all of it.
Right. So it makes it beautiful.
And I'm grateful. Grateful for my big nose. I'm grateful for my frailties. I'm grateful for my fuck ups. And even when I'm not, when I forget and my ego's pretending, so go ahead.
Wow. No, honestly, I just want to, I want you, before we get to our last question.
Yeah.
How can people find you? If they want to get interested in, coaching or just following along the book,
Sure. They can, my website is samledconsulting.com, and they can contact me. I do, basically they're year journeys. It's very California. Like, come on, this cognitive magic carpet. No, it's a year, it's a year process. It's not even a process. It's a year conversation where I'm speaking to when we forget, sometimes we need a catalyst. Sometimes we need a shepherd. I have a coach too. Hi, Angus Ross. He listens. He has a podcast called The Rewilders. He's awesome. Him and his wife, they have they're relationship coaches, but they share this understanding about state of mind and consciousness. Anyways, samledconsulting.com. They can contact me there, or go to my Instagram, samledconsulting, contact me there. Or through the the mental telepathy. No, I'm kidding. They can email me too. I'd love to chat and see what comes up. But I do I don't charge by the hour because sometimes people have an insight in one conversation. Sometimes it's a year. Sometimes we constantly need reminders. And that's okay. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right. I'm gonna get to my last question for you.
Okay.
How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? As funny and lighthearted and fucking ridiculous and being of service and making fucking a living being of service, which I'm doing. And knowing when they see Sam or they think of Sam that I've helped them some way. Not to sound like motherfucking Teresa or like I'm just as much a fuck up sometimes as everybody else.
Yeah.
Like I don't
But it gives you empathy.
Well, empathy is built into all of us. It's built into me and built into you.
Right.
I don't have all the answers, but I only can share from my own experience. And that's what makes this understanding. And ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to, not just my book, just coming out when it's coming out, when it's ready, I'll know when it's supposed to, when it's supposed to. These are 2 books, if I may share.
Of course. Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. I don't have this book. This is on business. So this would be great for you. Would love this on the principles on business. This is a coach. His name is Chris Westfall. He's a friend. I can't remember his name. ADHD moment.
Yeah.
Easier. Get it. It's so simple. It's so simple. Wonderful. It's about it's about business and the understanding of the principles that I share. Okay. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a techniques. This is not a modality. You don't have to learn anything because you have all the tools within you. This is how this is teaching you how our mind works, how we work as spiritual beings in a meat jacket. The next one is Michael Neal. He's one of my favorites. Cool. Space Within, easy read, to the point. He speaks from his heart. And the final one, where is it? I'm such a nerd. I get my whole. These are good ones. Very close to me,
I'm glad I don't know these ones, to be honest. I always try to pick up new books.
Good, cool.
I hope they're on Audible.
I can't read it. I was gonna say, I have attention span of a lab rat. I can't. Okay.
Like I have this big library that's all on my phone.
Hey, listen, whatever works.
Hey, yep.
Did I show you the Inside Out Revolution or did I? Oh, another one by Michael Neal.
Oh, okay, cool.
Audible too. I don't know if he's on Audible. Michael Neal. He's got like an old school like.
Oh hell yeah.
Lights out along the coast. Love. This is the love doctor.
Love line,
love line. Dr. Judy and Jagger.
Yeah,
exactly. He's amazing. Like, awesome. I love you, Michael Neal. I've seen him a couple times. Him and Anina Morjan. Oh, another book.
Okay.
It's not sharing just understanding. Anina Morjani had a NDE. Do you know what NDE is?
I don't.
Another. I'm just trying to impress you with my acronyms. It's a near-death experience.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's a book called Dying to Live by Anita Morjani. She is fan-fucking-tastic. And the final one, which should be on the top of your list.
Okay.
And I gotta pull this up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Where are you gonna go? You're right here in my box. Hold on.
So far we got easier, Space Within, Inside Out. I'm excited. So I like to read. I drive a lot for work, so I love doing Audible. And when people say they can't read, or there's always a way.
Yep.
Always a way.
Wait, it's called Just a Thought.
Okay.
By Dr. Amy Johnson. Just a Thought. I can't find it. I'm gonna look up Dr. Amy Johnson.
Okay.
Dr. Amy. There she is. Here, I'll give it to you a sec.
Yeah.
No, It's not pulling it for some reason. That's weird. Okay. I don't know why it's not pulling up. It's being weird. Doesn't matter. Dr. Amy Johnson, just a thought. That should be on the top of your list because that really give you an understanding of the understanding. Yeah.
Awesome. Sam, thanks so much for coming on, man. This has been great. It's been great for me, which I mean, and like you said earlier, like we do this out of service. Like I do this because it makes me feel good, which means makes other people feel good. It's informative, entertaining. Like I really appreciate everything you said today.
Thank you.
And it kind of helps strengthen my own thoughts of like how, what this is all about and how we can just, riding the wave of instead of just, why am I dealing with this? Why am I dealing with that? It's like, ride it out, man, and be present and accept that it's going to keep happening, but it's going to get weakened.
Exactly. And it's just by kind of seeing more and noticing more. And the more you do that, the more insights you get. And the insights come, it's intuition. Yeah. And just seeing, just looking at it, just being really, really present with what is. And being present with what is accepting like every moment of your life, every minute, every hour. And again, it's not possible. You're never going to win the game with thought and thinking. It's impossible. Sometimes we all go crazy from now and again. Mm-hmm. Not like pathology sure. crazy, but like in,
Sure.
It's being okay with being crazy, getting crazy sometimes. The more you're okay with it, the less it will have a vice-like grip on your life. And the more, the less suffering you will have, and the more presence you have, and the more presence you have, the more you will enjoy your life for the good, bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. So,
well said. Just thanks again. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for everyone for listening. And I'm sure we'll have to do this again because
100%.
There's hours more of content we could put.
And let me know when you drop it because I'll cross promote it on my social too.
Yeah, honestly, it'll be out next Wednesday.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome, Sam. Appreciate it. Thanks again for everyone for listening. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Anxious Ambition podcast. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Follow us on Instagram @AnxiousAmbition. You can actually watch this podcast over on YouTube. Lastly, check out our website, anxiousambition.com, where we have all of our merch, and a portion of every sale is donated to NAMI, and it helps support the individuals and their families who are suffering from mental illness. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, take it easy.
Anxious ambition.